go on, which they do now. The lights go out and away they go, and it's a good start by Mark Burton from the second row of the grid. Of course, he got an empty track ahead of him, but he hasn't got as much power to get down as Ben Pearson, who storms away into the lead of the race. But it looks like Burton's going to hold on to second. Kevin Granger moving into third there at the expense of Paul Travers. The Daniel Pastana car hasn't got away particularly quickly, but we'll see how that progresses through the next few corners. And Lee Pearcey obviously is one to watch. I'm sure he'll be fairly careful to get through some of the traffic in the early stages, just looking to see where he has made it. Yeah, he's already picked up one or two cars off from the back of the grid, but he's making his way safely through the field as well. There's the 76 car of Stuart Pywell, and there is the race leader Ben Pearson. But McLean's corner has a decent advantage over the rest.
Yeah, so he's going to go away as Kevin Granger runs very wide, trying to get on terms with Mark Burton, and that's going to lose him third spot to Pastrana. I think might have some of those M3 Cup decals still on the car, so perhaps that's a car that hasn't been out, and perhaps for Dan himself hasn't been out very much over the last few seasons. There's Paul Travers trying to get himself up alongside the very quick starting Kevin Granger. He started in 6th position, the sometime classic touring car racer from Surrey, and he's there ahead of Paul Travers as they turn their way through the S's for the first time in this race. Adam Reed looks like he's got the best of the Class 6 cars, but he's under threat from Tom Singleton, the double race winner from Brands Hatch in the class last time out. So that's the Class 6 battle. I think that's the one to look out for during the course of this race. And Adam Reed then has got to the front of it, the double Burkitt Relay event winner.
There's Kevin Granger trying to get up the inside of Paul Travers there into Goddard's. This is for position within Class M2, second place within that class, and he's made it through there. Then it's Adam Reed that is next up then in the 6-cylinder class lead in car 210. Just behind him is the Thomas Singleton car. They've got a bit of a gap back to Stephen Schweikart then, who is just probably going to circulate relatively safely just to make sure he's done enough to wrap up the championship. I think he probably has just by starting this race. Obviously, we had the demise of Graham Crowhurst after qualifying this morning, which has denied us the spectacle of a showdown for the championship.
Lee Pearcey only got to 15th, so not as sort of high as I thought he might get on that opening lap. So whether that car, the 36, is still not quite right for last year's champion. We will see how he progresses from there. But this battle for fourth is pretty good, with Kevin Granger ahead of Paul Travers, Adam Reed and Tom Singleton as they turn their way through. So Granger at the front of this, the managing director, who's been racing for 4 seasons now in this E46 330 from 2001, ahead of Paul Travers. So they're the two M2 cars. They should have a little bit more power. I think the class structure being looked at for next season, so it might change a little bit. It changed for this year. Might be just adapted a little bit again for next season. Was Granger across the curbs a bit there? And maybe a little bit more, which means he is under threat from Paul Travers. They come down towards the Melbourne Loop, look to the inside. Couldn't make a move there. Then you've got the 3 6-cylinder cars behind, because 6 class cylinders cars, 6-cylinder class cars, that's the order of those words I was looking for, between Adam Reed, Tom Singleton and Stephen Schweikart. So Schweikart has caught them as Granger. It was Granger very early on the brakes there, and this has all gone wrong. Adam Reed has clattered into the side of him. Not really sure what was going on there, because Kevin Granger was totally outbraked by Paul Travers. Adam Reed was on his inside, and then Kevin Granger turned into the corner regardless of there being a car alongside him.
Yeah, it looked like Adam Reed did leave his braking a bit late, though, didn't it? Almost like he was judging his braking point based on the car in front, which had left its braking point too late, maybe.
But he got past with no problem, so I was wondering if Kevin Granger braked a bit earlier, I don't know. But anyway, they got through without too much damage, I think. But Tom Singleton, who's very, very sideways, has taken the lead of Class 6. We see that in front-wheel drive cars sometimes, don't we? No, someone's off.
There.
Yeah.
Who was that was off at the old hairpin? I don't know if we can flick back to try to see that. There's Mark Burton, who is our Class M2 leader, Daniel Pastana, and it is the 37 car. It is Kevin Granger that's gone off, having had those dramas at Goddard's. The Business Removal Services back car is off on the grass. It's trying to remove itself from the grass now. and get back into the race.
He's had sort of a strange half a lap there, hadn't he? It was going very well. He had a really good start. There's Lee Piercy. He is now into the top 10, I think, so he's making better progress. He was 12th at the end of the first lap. He's just passed the BMW Z3 that's going really well. David Ashton, I think more regularly has raced in road sport, so he's having a trial in the BMW car club. And that Z3, not a particularly well-used racing car, is going really well. Up ahead of Philip White there in 70. In another E46, but yeah, great to see the Z3 out there, the only Z cars type machine on the grid here.
Yeah, no, it's very welcome to have that different body shape up the inside. There goes the number 70 car. That's Philip White. Aspen, the back of the car steps out a little bit as he rounds the hairpin. Also involved there is number 27, which is Chris Blakey as well, the driver from Lincoln, the IT consultant, is in his second season of racing the 330 Ci that he's prepared himself, having built that car or bought the car as a road car initially. He's just outside the top 10 at the moment in the Cup class right now. It looks like it is William Lake that leads in the Cup class at the moment from Gareth Thomas, and as we said, they're disputing the Cup class championship between them for those identically prepared BMW 325 Ti compacts.
Ben Pearson broke the lap record held by Mike Cutt in this category on that last lap, 1 minute 42.96 for Pearson. Now Kevin Granger's into the pits, so perhaps that knock he had with Adam Reed damaged the car, and then he had that spin at the old hairpin, perhaps gathered a lot of grass up on the way as well, so that may be an early retirement, I'm afraid, for Kevin Granger.
Now Paul Travers here has got the 6-cylinder class leader right behind him, hasn't he? Thomas Singleton, who was more than a second behind at the start of the lap. It's less than a second now. Adam Reed has gone with him. Stephen Schweikart there. Schrack is still a bit further back, but still doing enough for the championship in third place within the 6-cylinder class. Philip White it is in 10th overall, that's fourth in that class at the moment. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin comes this battle. It's for fourth position overall, behind the three class leaders: Ben Pearson, the M1 class leader, Mark Burton, M2, and Daniel Pastano, the Invitation class leader. Up towards Goddard now they come.
Pearson up front gone even faster, by the way, 1 minute 42.60, so he leads by 20 seconds. They all run really wide there at the hairpin in that battle for fourth place between Paul Travers and Tom Singleton and Adam Reed. Now, is this some of the Cup class cars that have got themselves together? Is that Paul Neville in 42 and Sam Walton in 6, I think? So yeah, they've got themselves involved in that dice a little bit further down the order.
Yeah, very good way to get into motorsport as well, in particular BMW racing. The Cup class, very cost effective. Paul Neville, certainly a relative newcomer to racing, 56-year-old from Harpenden, is retired, and when he's not playing golf or knowing the wife, he's been building this car over the last 5 years, and initially it's a track car, now as a race car. There, a bit further up the road, is the number 68 car of Gareth Thomas. He now leads in the Cup class, doesn't he, because he's got himself ahead of William Lake, and sandwiched in between them is the number 79 car of Sergei Miniv, the another 325 Ti, but in the 6-cylinder class rather than the Cup class that Thomas and Lake both find themselves in. Lake using lots of the curb and the green concrete at the exit of the old hairpin as he tries to get on terms with Miniv and possibly then re-challenge Gareth Thomas for the lead within the Cup class. They turn their way through McLean's corner now, and again a little bit of the green stuff being used by William Lake in the third car in that group, and as yet it's done him no good because he's not found a way past Sergei Miniv.
So for Gareth Thomas, being ahead of William Lake, is all good for that Cup class title that he is looking for. He won the same championship last year, did Gareth Thomas. The Cup class title went his way in 2022, and it's appearing like he's in the prime position to reclaim that, being ahead of William Lake. I think we'll have to do also finish the second race too to confirm that. So that's been a closely fought category this year. William Lake has had 6 victories in the class Gareth Thomas, I should say, has had 6 victories in the class to William Lake's 4 over the course of this season. And Sergei Minev very much involved in that battle for what is 17th position in the race.
Stuart Pywell there is doing battle with Carl McMillan. He's got through now up into 14th place. Just behind them as well, I think that's the car, yes it is, of number 31, Paul Laramie, the driver from Chesham, who's the head of programme management. He is 42 years of age, started racing in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship in 5 years ago. He also is a regular sim racer with the Virtual Reality Racing Club as well, so that probably gives him some extra experience of the circuits. Josh?
Here's that BMW E30 that you referenced earlier, which is being driven by David Noons, who is from Derbyshire, from Brailsford. He more regularly races with the Classic Sports Car Club in this 1984 BMW E30 325i, prepared by Stephen Scott Dunwoody, who he shared the car with at the Ultimate BMW race at Brands Hatch last month. But great to have this early car, the oldest car on the grid, and running the BMW M stripes. Meanwhile, the battle further behind continues, doesn't it, between Gareth Thomas and Sergei Minev?
Yeah, so it looks like the Class 6 cars now cleared both of the Cup Class cars, which means that the 2 Cup Class leaders, Thomas and Lake, are going to be together again. Thomas in number 80, Lake in number 4.
68 for
68,
Thomas.
I should say. And Thomas in number 4. And we'll see how their battle develops over the course of the remaining 8 minutes of this race. Oh, and Manev's made a mistake there, which means that they might both get through ahead of him. Either way, or is he going to split them again? I think he's going to split them.
That was short-lived.
The last couple of laps been later on the brakes into Goddard's, and he has got it stopped each time, but it has been a bit heart in mouth for those watching on, and probably for those involved as well.
Yeah, especially like you say, for Thomas, the last thing he needs is to get involved in an incident as he looks for the class title again this year. I think they might have been lapped by the leader now, Ben Pearson. He's completed 7 laps. Battle up the road involves Cole McMillan and Paul Laramie. They have David Aston just ahead of them, who has dropped down the field a little bit since we last spoke about the BMW Z3. So he is being involved in this battle with Cole McMillan, the 2021 Cup Class champion. He's upgraded his car to Class 6 spec over the last couple of years. And Paul Laramie involved in that battle as well, the driver from Buckinghamshire, who competed in the Cup Class up before this season, has upgraded his car with a 3-litre engine. It's a compact body in the car that he built with the assistance of Automac, who prepares the car for Paul now, the driver who runs in 16th position in this BMW Car Club race. Some changes possibly a bit further up the order because Lee Piercy's up to 6th, isn't he? So Lee Piercy's got himself up ahead of Adam Reed, who's dropping a little bit further behind Tom Singleton now, the Class 6 leader, who has got ahead of Paul Travers and into 4th position in the race.
There is the 60 car breaking into the hairpin. Carl McMillan goes out wide, and it's possible that David Aston can get back through in the Z3, and he does so. And just behind them is Laramie. Yeah, Ben Pearson still leading, by the way. Number 25 is leading by more than half a minute over number 29, Mark Burton, in 2nd place. Number 12, Daniel Pastana, is in 3rd position. I think Ben Pearson is not too far away from lapping some of these cars as well, with 6 minutes of the race left to go. He's been lapping the 142s, 142.60, his last lap in the 143s, and his sort of lap times have been sort of roughly 5 seconds better than anybody else during the course of this race, but really the only front-running M1 class car in this race. So I expect he was hoping for a bit of a better dice during the course of this race, but sadly it's not turned out that way.
Yeah, because the class seems to be running better than perhaps it has done in the past. It's got the new lap record.
Yeah.
So for Ben Pearson this season, he's had a couple of 3rds, he's had a 4th, he's had a couple of 5ths and a 7th. So it's sort of hard to compare, though, isn't it, with this sort of weaker well, there's no other competition for him in Class
Yeah.
M1.
Effectively. This car built back in 2021. It previously won the Class 6 and the overall title that year, I think. And as Josh mentioned earlier on, he's been racing for some time. Karting from 2008 to 2012, then Ginetta Juniors 2013 and 2014. He was the run-up in the 2013 Winter Series, had various podium finishes. Did a couple of years in the Compact Cup in 2015 and 2016 as well. Then returned to karting from 2017 to 2019 and started racing with the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, originally in Class 6 and winning the championship there. So this 2 Series 2016 car with the N55 engine, very much a project of Ben. He's a mechanic by occupation from Devon, and he's really carving his way very nicely through the traffic now. Is coming up to lap the number 76 car of Stuart Pywell, who is in the same class.
Mentioned he was the runner-up in the Ginetta Junior Winter Series in 2013. That was won by James Kellett, who won the Ginetta GT Super Cup last season, and racing the Porsche Carrera Cup this year. Track limit penalties. We haven't had many of them over the course of the weekend, but now we've got a couple in this race. Mark Burton in second has got a 5-second penalty, and 77 Paul Travers has got a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits.
And both M2 class drivers as well, aren't they? So it's not actually really going to make much change in class M2, other than Paul Travers will lose out to Lee Pearcey, I think, within that class because of that. And we're looking at Lee Pearcey now,
who I think is ahead of Paul Travers on the road anyway.
Okay, so he's got that done on this lap, hasn't he?
Yeah. Now Pearcey's best is a 1:48.7. Mark Burton's done a 1:47.4, so Burton is a bit quicker. Wondering how race 2 may go between them.
Change there, that's the 31 car of Paul Laramie up inside the 60 of Carl McMillan. That's a change for position within Class 6. Getting on in the Cup class, it's still the same order. Gareth Thomas ahead of William Lake, and they've still got Sergei Maneev's car between them as well.
Thomas with the faster lap too. Because if Lake took that fastest lap away, that would equalise the points out, because there was just a point between each position in this series, and you get a point for fastest lap.
Yeah. So fastest lap point very important here, because it could be quite a big swing, relatively speaking, in the championship. 2 3/4 minutes left to go in this BMW Car Club Racing Championship event here at Donington Park. Penultimate round of the season, of course. It's a season that has taken in Silverstone, Brands Hatch, both the Grand Prix and the Indy circuits, Alton Park, Crofton, Snetterton as well.
Of course, the Brands Hatch first event on the Grand Prix circuit was supporting the Fanatec GT World Challenge, which also featured Valentino Rossi racing a BMW and finishing second in the main event. So good to have BMWs on the support package of that meeting. Probably one of the headline events in the country. One of the few European car racing championships in the UK this year. So a good package to be invited to.
Looking like this is going to be a 12-lap race then. Ben Pearson working lap.
He's slowing.
Now. Oh, he's slowing. The leader's slowing. That changes things. So he'd got this lead of 50 seconds it was at the end of the previous lap over Mark Burton. Now, is he going to make it to the end?
Ooh.
Oh, and Lake's in the pits. So that is important in the Cup Class Championship battle. He was second behind Gareth Thomas, but clearly some kind of an issue for him. We are watching the battle for 11th and 12th position. Sean Jackson is in the 325i, the 36, the drive from Grimsby, in the invitation, the M2 class, and just behind him is that car of David Nunes.
More track limit penalties. Daniel Pastana, the driver, in third position, and Cole McMillan.
And Ben Pearson's off the road. Sorry, Josh, he's out of the race. I think he's got the hazards on, and I wonder if that's some kind of electrical issue for him. So Ben Pearson looks to be out of the race. So that's going to promote Mark Burton. And I wonder
he's
if
off.
He's back again. He's back into the race. Now, is he still leading? He was 50 seconds ahead of Mark Burton at the start of the lap. It'd be useful to...
Like you said, Ian, you think it was electrical, and he might have just turned the engine off, turned it back on and reset it, and it's good to go.
Yeah, well, if he does manage to get to the checkered flag, we can find out from him exactly what's gone on there. So he's coming through. If he'd actually left that a bit longer, he could have made that the last lap of the race and probably still won it. Over the line he goes to start what will be his final lap. Then that was a 2:22, so 40 seconds slower on that lap than the lap before, or than his best lap of the race. And I think we're still waiting for Mark Burton to come through. He has done now, 15 seconds behind the race leader.
Just flashing through the shot though, the battle for fourth is on between Tom Singleton and Lee Pearcey. This battle a lap down for something like 19th position as Paul Neville and Sam Walton diced it out in the cup class. But Lee Pearcey might get to fourth then, because he had caught Tom Singleton just ahead of these two cars. We should get a shot of that as they come out of the hairpin. And they're already down at Redgate Corner, but Lee Pearcey right on terms now with Thomas Singleton, not for class position but for fourth overall. Now is Ben Pearson going to bring this car home? He started the lap 15 seconds ahead.
Hazards are on again. The hazards are on again. Is there a problem for him? He's going to better go down the hill here into the Fogarty S's. Is all well with that car. Through this he goes. It doesn't look at full pace to me as he goes through Fogarty. Down towards the hairpin he goes. 15 seconds he was clear of Mark Burton at the start of this lap. Is he going to hold on to it?
Looks to be better than it was a lap ago. So I think all is somewhat okay. So Ben Pearson, this race has been more dramatic than what we were expecting. Especially 5 minutes ago, it all seemed very plain sailing. Until we saw him, he was being passed by cars that he had just lapped. But Ben Pearson, is he going to receive the checkered flag? Yes, he is.
Yeah, so he wins round 13 of the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. First win of the season for Ben Pearson. So many congratulations to him. Mark Burton, it should be in second place. There you can see the 68 car, which is Gareth Thomas. There's Burton in second, and the Class M2 winner flashing his lights. Second, Maneve going through, but then you've got Gareth Thomas, who has won in the Cup class, and so he takes the checkered flag there. Obviously, we had the loss of William Lake towards the end of that race, and Dan Pastana, he's come through, hasn't he, as well, in third, also with a 5-second penalty.
Lee Pearcey's took fourth. We just saw that. Lee Pearcey ahead of Tom Singleton to take fourth, but Stephen Schweikart in the middle here, number 43, the second car in our shot, about to seemingly win the championship.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? Is up the inside of Paul Neville's car. There they come through, and there is the checkered flag, and Stephen Schweikart takes it, and it's only third within Class 6 today, but I'm pretty sure that's enough to wrap up the championship. Mark Burton's now got a 15-second penalty to add to the, well, in total. Dan Pastana only a 5-second penalty, and there's just under 10 seconds between them, so that will be Pastana up to second, number 12. Mark Burton will be down to third, and still battles to be resolved here for the final place inside the top 10. That's Philip White, and David Nunes, I think, has got on terms with Philip White towards the end. He's got ahead of Sean Jackson on the final lap, but White it is that holds on to the last position inside the top 10.
Yeah, David Nunes progressed from 19th on the grid, which is pretty good. The Z3 that was well up at one stage, but actually that only started 17th, sort of dropped back a little bit again. That David Atherton finished 14th in the end. Rather more cars finished on the lead lap than what we were expecting at one point. But Ben Pearson, so his win actually is going to be like half a minute, isn't it, once all the penalties are brought into account.
It was up to 50 seconds on the road at one point before his car stopped temporarily, but he got back into the race again, still managing to hold on to the leads, and he's just about to head into the pit lane now. So we'll see if we can bring you the results of that race. We need to unpick the penalties, of course, as well. So it was, though, Ben Pearson that won, number 25 in the 2 Series. 12 laps completed, and once penalty applied, he will be 30.15 seconds clear of number 12, Daniel Pastana, in second place. Mark Burton will be classified third in number 29. Fourth will be number 1, Lee Pearcey. Fifth to 23, Thomas Singleton. Sixth to 77, Paul Travers, in spite of a penalty. Seventh to number 210, Adam Reed. Eighth to 43, Stephen Schweikart. Ninth to 27, Chris Blakey. And 10th to number 70, Philip White. Pearson, Burton, Pastana and Singleton, all class winners there. 11th was Nunes, 12th Jackson, 13th Pywell and 14th Aspen. And if we look at the next screen, we'll see that Gareth Thomas had a very convincing win in the end in the Cup class, which will help his hopes of wrapping up that championship with one race to come a little bit later on this afternoon. It's going to be our final race of the weekend, due off at around about 5:40, although it might be a little bit later than that given delays earlier on in the programme. But Ben Pearson it was that took the win in slightly dramatic fashion in the end, and he'll be hoping to get to the bottom of what caused that in between races and make sure it doesn't recur in race 2. So let's head down to the pit lane now. Andy McEwen is there, and he's going to find out the latest from what happened with our race winner.
Well, a drama-fueled conclusion to that opening BMW race of the day, with all of our top 3 finishers actually encountering late trouble with time penalties for 2 of them, and whatever the issues were for Ben Pearson, but they didn't prevent him from getting the win. Ben, let's get you stood over next to your car, shall we? A car that I gather wasn't running flawlessly there towards the end. What was going on?
No, I think we ran low on fuel and it went into reduced performance. So did a quick stop at the hairpin, did a power cycle, got it going again, and then just lift and coast and take it easy.
You were going that quickly, you were burning more fuel than you expected?
Just slightly, yeah. Put a bit more in for next time.
Yeah, sensible. I think very lucky then that you were able to get to the flag, and also that you'd built up such a big lead in the early part of the race.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, the other main competitor didn't make it to the race. He had an accident in qualifying this morning. Other than that, it's not the way that you want to race on your own, but competition would be better.
It would indeed, but it's a great circuit and a great car as well. How long have you been behind the wheel of this thing?
We've had it for 2 years now.
Okay. Yeah. And much development going on with it, or have you kind of left it how you got it?
Yeah, a lot. It's not going to stop either. Still need a lot more to do.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully another race victory coming for Ben a little bit later on. Now, Mark Burton came home in second place. There is Ben, Mark even. Second place for you, but picked up a bit of a time penalty there towards the end. Were you aware that you'd strayed a bit beyond those white lines?
Yeah, I saw the black and white flag for track limits, I assumed. But I didn't see that I had a penalty till I just came in there. But it doesn't really make much difference. You know, we race in classes here and I was still first in class, so that's the main thing. But it was a good race. I was a bit on my own. Car was getting a bit hot, so I backed off a bit just to sort of save the car. But it's still good fun.
Any idea what might have been causing the overheating? Because I don't know whether you've noticed, it's not a particularly hot day today, is it?
No, it's not. We had a bit of damage in the last race, and the car got very hot then because the auxiliary belt ended up coming off and the engine got very hot. And this is the first time we've really run it for any period, so it might just be an airlock or something from that. We just need to have a look at it. I mean, it was okay. I just didn't want it to get any worse.
Thoughts now for race 2 at the end of the day then? Another class win, obviously the target. Is there anyone who you think from your class might pose a bit of a threat in that one?
I'd need to see where people finish in that race because our grid positions are from race 1. But obviously Lee Pearce will be quick. He's probably the closest, and Paul Travers as well. So it should be a bit closer, I think. I think they got a bit bunched up battling, which let me get away. So if they hang with me, I think we should have a good race.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mark. Second place overall, and as he quite rightly says, an M2 class victory. Now, third place goes the way of Daniel Pestana, another driver actually to fall foul slightly of some track limits there, but overall a solid race for you.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. My first time racing since about 5 years, actually. I was nursing a couple of issues with the gearbox and fuel starvation, basically. But really enjoyed it. I didn't actually see the warning board for the penalty, so I missed that and then across the line on the final lap and saw it. But really enjoyed it. It's great to be back on the grid.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Daniel. We're going to have to leave it there because I can hear behind us that cars are already making their way around to the grid for our next race, and it's sort of the main event of the day, if you like, a 2-hour endurance race with mandatory pit stops, driver changes for many of the cars as well. It is, of course, the latest round of the Tagiwa Club Enduro Championship, an eclectic grid of cars gridding up, and Ian and Josh can talk you through it.